I mean, he's a handsome man at the best of times, but that's almost sort of willing the rain to stop, because of course we've been saying already, Ferrari saw this weather coming and have taken some measures in their car setup to make them much more optimistic as to how they are going to go in these wet conditions. So while you might think McLaren are kind of, no, let's not do this, and if we can stop the weather, when A, that would be impressive, and B, that would be better for us in terms of our competitiveness, for Ferrari, it's the other way round. They fancy their chances in wet conditions, as I'm sure does Lewis Hamilton. So I don't actually see Hamilton in the Mercedes garage at the moment. For that matter, I don't even see George Russell, but it's a hive of activity down here, as I think they're all just waiting to see what's happened. Peter Bonington, Bono, has got a nice mug of tea, and who knew that Bono had a carbon fibre cup of tea as well? Does it actually say, I can't get close enough to see what does it actually say Peter Bonington on it, or does it say it's hammer time? Lee, can you zoom in on what it says on Peter Bonington's cup of tea? Oh, it's actually just the name. Oh, it's Cannondale. Oh, I see. Right, it's a bike manufacturer. Of course, Peter Bonington is a very keen cyclist. And let's just see if I can interrupt Bradley Lord, who's just looking at the weather radar on here. Can I come a bit closer, or is this all too secret to see, Bradley?
It's just the weather radar.
Well, I don't know. It might be your secrets of engineering the car on George Russell's side. So what's the weather radar saying at the moment? We've got our own weather radar, whereas we can have a look. But yeah, tell us what you can see.
We can just see there's a lot of rain about, and it's not really easing off. So there's some shadows on the radar that make it look like it might be easing, but in practical terms it's not. And I think there's more coming down than anyone's managing to clear at the moment. So.
Did we have a little window a bit earlier? I know we tend to play this sort of game, don't we, in Formula One sometimes, that if we started this on the dot of 4 o'clock, then we might have had a window. But do you think we'd ever had a window?
No, I don't think there's been a window at all. I think it was raining really, really heavily, and then there's still, even if it stops raining, there's still all the water to clear. You can see how wet the runoffs are as well if anyone goes offline or off track. So safety is paramount, and yeah, it keeps knocking back every quarter of an hour at the moment, so we're only a couple of minutes away from likely the start being delayed again until at least 4:45.
You're old enough to remember the exit of the Senna S and the little river that used to run across the track.
Yeah, and apparently on the resurfacing, those grooves that help clear the water are still there, but fewer in number than they used to be, and certainly on the grid slots as well, there aren't the same drainage slots and things like that. So it's also an unknown how this resurface circuit would be in wet conditions. So that's another factor that the race director will be taking into consideration.
Okay, all of the mechanics did great work. How much did they change between the sprint race and this qualifying session? Let's talk about your sort of competitiveness.
Not too much. A couple of tweaks and a couple of modifications just to try and help the drivers feel more confident in the car and get a better balance. But we actually saw with George, the handling was far from perfect, but when he wasn't managing the tyres, and there was some management necessary for us on that medium in the sprint, the pace was pretty competitive. So just trying to eke a little bit more out within the limitations we've got this weekend.
Okay. And you told me after the sprint race you had to raise the car slightly, as lots of people did, to avoid the bumps. Obviously in the wet weather, that's a great bonus. In fact, everybody will be doing that based on whatever their forecasts are for tomorrow. But what are your chances if it stays in these conditions for the Grand Prix qualifying and the Grand Prix itself?
I think we'd hope to be pretty competitive. I think when it has been wet so far this year, I think back to Lewis in the damp at Silverstone or qualifying at Spa, we've had a pretty good showing. We know that driver talent and driver ability comes to the fore, and both George and Lewis are fantastic in the wet. So yeah, certainly we'd be feeling we've got a good chance of a strong showing.
Okay, and just finally, you want to give our viewers any best guess as to what kind of qualifying we will have? Would it be a Sunday morning kind of thing, which would be sort of lunchtime Sunday lunch, or can it be based on any other session?
I think it'd be a Sunday morning qualifying, probably just before people in the UK are having Sunday lunch, and then a race, early, sort of late afternoon and early evening is the most likely outcome, a bit like we've done in Japan a few times in the past.
And what happens if there's no qualifying?
Excellent question. I think that's a question for Ron rather than me. But
well, then there wouldn't be a race. If it's not conditions. I'm answering my own question here. I don't know.
I think we find a way to set the grid. Whether that's based on the sprint or the qualifying session from the sprint, I'm not sure, but there's always a mechanism that they can find in order to do that.
Okay, all right, so I'm just seeing over my shoulder here that it's just flashed up on the main coverage, Crofty, that we have at 16:45 local time. So that's another half hour. All right. Well, listen, Crofty, any questions for Mercedes down here in the garage? Apart from Toto Wolff chose the right race not to come to, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my question was going to be, as you're talking to Bradley Lord, Director of Communications at Mercedes-Benz, is he Toto Wolff this weekend as Toto's not here, and does he get to sit in Toto's chair?
Crofty always with the cheeky question, Bradley. He was saying, are you Toto Wolff this weekend, and do you get to sit in Toto's chair? I can answer that half. The person sitting in Toto Wolff's chair is actually Kimi Antonelli, is he not, this weekend?
Well, no, we've taken the chair away, so we're all...
Have you? Where is it? Where's the chair?
It's in the back of the garage.
Where's it gone?
It's just round the back.
What's there now?
Just a space in which those of us who are here can stand.
Can we have a look?
By all means.
Oh, wow.
Probably have a long day. It's been quite a lot of waiting around today, and we got a race in at least today, so there was something we had from today, but I think there's going to be more rain tomorrow. It's predicted again, so this is the problem. I think we might be from lunchtime sitting here wondering whether they're going to delay the race as well.
I spoke to there's a local guy that works with Aston at this event, and he was saying that tomorrow he thinks there's rain tomorrow, but a lower, more consistent level through the day. So not the big downpour that we had today. So if it's like that, a lower level of consistent rain through the day, we should be fit to get qualifying in the race underway. Let's hope this forecast is right.
Exactly, but if they don't get qualifying in, it is down to the discretion of the stewards as to what sets the grid order. So that could be anything from the weekend so far, whether that's a practice session, whether it's sprint or whatever. We have had official confirmation, by the way, that it is postponed to tomorrow. No official start time. It's to do with the lack of visibility and safety for the drivers.